Good evening and good afternoon. Good evening in Italy, good afternoon in Chile. Today we have a match for the third day of the group phase. So I'll give the floor to my colleague.
Good evening and welcome everyone. So today is one of the first matches in the group phase for the round 3. So actually the final match in this group phase for the two teams participating today. So welcome to the students from University of Bologna joining us from Italy and students from University of Chile, of course, joining us from Chile. The teams have received their topic for today's debate 7 days in advance. Specifically, they have researched on the topic that establishing strict international regulations on artificial intelligence will play a crucial role in safeguarding intellectual property. So the two teams prepared for both sides of the argument. We'll of course find out soon which team will defend which side. And before we do that, it's time to learn a bit more who will be debating today, starting perhaps with University of Bologna. Ms. Vorabey, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Elisabetta. I'm representing here the University of Bologna. Together with my colleagues, I'm doing a LLM degree in legal studies, and I'm looking forward to see what this debate has for us.
Thank you very much and welcome. Joining us from Santiago, Ms. Perez.
Hello. Well, as they said before, my name is Amanda Perez, and yeah, this is our third match overall. So we're very excited to see what we can, just extract from this debate. And I hope, the topic was as fun for you as it was for us to research.
Thank you and welcome, Mr. Sala from Bologna University.
Hello, everyone. I am Sala. I'm a first-year student at the LLM degree in legal studies at the University of Bologna. Finally, looking forward to the closure of this group phase, and I won't add anything else but wish good luck to everyone.
Thank you and welcome again from Santiago, Mr. Verbilar.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, my camera is off. Okay. Hello, my name is Andres Rubilar. I'm a fifth-year law school student, and I'm really happy to be here today. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and welcome again from University of Bologna. Shendawu, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon. I'm Chen Dao from China, but I'm studying in Italy, the University of Bologna. It's very nice to meet you guys and good luck tonight.
Thank you and welcome again. It's good to see you. And also good to see you, Ms. Silva from University of Chile.
Hi everyone. My name is Constanza Silva. I am on my last year of law degree, and I am very interested in history of the law. I am an assistant on the cátedra. How can I say cátedra?
Faculty.
Class. Yes, so I have heard a lot about Bologna. So we have some kind of studies about Bologna University. This is very interesting for me.
Thank you and welcome again. So in a short while, you will see my screen for the allocation of position. Just give me confirmation when you can see the screen, please. We will start shortly.
Yes.
Thank you. So as always, there are 4 options for the algorithm to choose from, 2 for each team. All right, so for today's debate, it will be University of Bologna's team that will defend the position against. Therefore, the position in favor will be defended by the University of Chile's debate team. To confirm the topic, establishing strict international regulations on artificial intelligence will play a crucial role in safeguarding intellectual property, will be defended by the University of Chile's debate team. And the position against this statement will be argued by the debaters of University of Bologna. You now have 5 minutes to finalize your preparations. Close your cameras, and once we are done, we'll start with the team in favor. Thank you, everyone. Your time for final preparation is now over. Before we start, I give the floor to our host for this match, Ms. Alpe, who's our student organizer. Just once again, confirmation that we also give you visual cues. Ms. De Paola, who's also from the student organizing team, will also be ready for the cards. So the video will be open for the students and you will get a visual cue yellow when your time is 30 seconds left over and red when your time is up. All right, now the floor is with Ms. Alpe. Give you the cues.
All right. Hello, everyone. So, University of Chile, you have 4 minutes now for your opening statement.
You're still muted.
Mr. Rubilar, did you hear that you can do your introduction?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready
Okay.
to start this debate. So, give me a minute, and I'm starting right now. Okay. Hello, everyone. You know who I am, right? I'm gonna say a little phrase to begin this debate, and is the next. Technology makes possible that was previously impossible. You know, the other day I saw Kanye West reciting Hamlet poems. I wonder, is this real? It was a rhetorical question, but I was surprised to know that video was fake. Nowadays, we can invent videos of things that never happened. We can create songs without singing a single word. We can create paintings without touch a brush. We can talk to the machine and ask it to make my homework, poems, even this debate, my arguments, right? In the future, we expect it to be impossible to know if it is something real or created. How is that possible? Well, artificial intelligence makes it possible. We can teach the machine to speak or sing like Kanye West by showing a massive number of songs by this artist. Problem? Songs are protected by intellectual property rights. We can do the same with paintings, poems, ideas, etc. Perhaps you are thinking that to solve this problem, it is enough to sanction the company for having used content already protected by intellectual property legislation. But there is a problem. We cannot certainly know the data used to create this technology because trade secret protects this information. So people who violate intellectual property remains unpunished. There are international efforts on the matter, such as Artificial Intelligence Act adopted by European Parliament this year on March 13, but we believe that they are insufficient. We think that establishing strict international regulations on IA will play a crucial role in safeguarding intellectual property. Just to make it clear, we are going to give some important definitions. First, artificial intelligence. According to OCDE, is a machine-based system that for explicit or implicit objective infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs such as predictions, contents, recommendations, or decisions that can influence physical or virtual environments. Another important definition is about intellectual property. According to Cornell University Legal Information Institute, is a type of property encompassing the products of original human thought. Intellectual property rights includes patents, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets. Finally, about strict international regulations who can play a crucial role in safeguarding intellectual property, we need to answer a question. What can we do to prevent intellectual property violation? The main problem of intellectual property violation is that developers can use protected content without the author knowing, because secret trade protects the development information. We think that all databases of source programming should be public. I repeat, because this is a very important thing. We think that all databases of source programming should be public. That way we can know if developers are using content protected by intellectual property rights and sanction them. And in fact, our single argument title is this: stricter regulations will allow to know if developers are using content protected by intellectual property rights and sanction them. We will win this debate if we demonstrate that strict regulations safeguard intellectual property. And that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Now, University of Bologna, you have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Dear colleagues, honorable judges, and organizers, on behalf of the University of Bologna, our team strongly opposes the idea that establishing strict international regulations on AI will play a crucial role in safeguarding intellectual property. We believe it's not practical and cannot truly protect intellectual property. Firstly, we must recognize that some concepts regarding AI and AI-generated content still remain controversial. For example, when the AI-generated content is considered original and when it constitutes an infringement of IPR, can AI-generated content be deemed intellectual property and be protected accordingly? Different countries have different approaches. For example, works produced solely by a machine are considered intellectual property, or in my country, China, but not in the US. However, the universal consensus on these issues is the basis of the international regulations on AI. In this sense, international regulations on AI are not feasible now. National or regional regulations may be a better option. For example, the incoming EU's AI Act clarifies some IPR issues in the field of AI. Compared to the international regulations in distant future, the AI Act will be guaranteed by the EU AI Office and competent national authorities of member states, based on the consensus of member states on AI issues. That's why the AI Act is practical, but international regulations are not. We don't doubt that IPR should be protected, as an opposing team argued, but international regulations are not the answer. Secondly, even if we leave the feasibility aside, can international regulations on AI truly help intellectual property protection? Actually, the approaches adopted by different countries reflect their national interests. For example, the US has many big AI companies, such as OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft. So it tends to create a looser regulatory environment. By contrast, Europe doesn't. So it's more motivated to put stricter rules on AI, such as the AI Act, as I mentioned. And even if we reach international regulations on AI, they are just the compromise of interests, but not truly for intellectual property protection. Strict regulations on AI will also impede the development of AI. As we all know, AI models highly depend on deep learning and big data, as the opposing team mentioned in the definition, which means the use of external knowledge is unavoidable. Too strict rules will kill the development and innovation of AI. We should remember AI is also a form of intellectual property, which also needs protection. In this sense, too strict regulations on AI will also harm intellectual property rather than protect it. To conclude, we strongly oppose the idea of establishing strict international regulations on AI. They are not feasible and they cannot truly safeguard intellectual property. Instead, they will impede the development of AI. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to the rebuttals. The University of Chile, you have 2 minutes for the rebuttals in favor of the statement.
Hello, everyone can hear me right? Yes? Okay, so I will be starting in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we are in favor of this motion for one single important reason, and that is that I guess we can all agree that protecting this intellectual property is a main issue. But the thing that confuses, I think, both of us here is how we will have the best option to do so. And thus, we are proposing an important solution in which we will be able to control the main problem that AI has right now, and that is where the AI gets the information from. And thus, even if the other team says that maybe the international regulation is the problem, the matter here is that we have to create something, and that something will end up helping protecting intellectual rights. And that is what is happening if we attack the main issue, and that is that the AI can extract information and images and contents from basically everywhere with almost free reign. And that's why if we make public these ways of working the AI, it will ultimately increase the probability that all the content already created in future will be protected. And maybe it will come at the cost of a little bit of liberties in terms of the AI itself. But at the end of the day, we have to make a big impact in property, intellectual property in general. The motion brings us to speak about protecting and safeguarding in a crucial role. And that is what's going to happen if we implement this solution, because ultimately we cannot fix everything, and the international laws exist for something, even if it won't apply to every case. But the point is that it will impact positively to what we are trying to protect here. And thus we as a team have proposed a solution that will do its job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. University of Bologna, you have 2 minutes for the rebuttals against the statement.
All right, thanks to the opposing team for their submission. The truth of the matter is that an internationalized and a strict regulation of AI will surface malevolent insistence on intellectual property rights. And the problematicness is here multifaceted. As the European Union Parliament points out in its 2020 resolution on intellectual property rights for the development of AI technology, that which is AI is hard to identify. And when the target of a regulation lacks legal certainty, then the regulation itself is by construction fallible. Therefore, to place intellectual property rights in a corrupted context makes their fulfillment very hard, if not close to impossible. Now, an example suggestive of what I've just said is the case of Lumsden versus Wisconsin, judged by the Supreme Court of Wisconsin in 2013. Now, Compass is a software used in US courts in order to determine the likeliness with which a defendant is to reoffend. Said software was, however, found to be racially biased, and therefore its opacity, however, made it hard to verify that. Now, when the developers of the software, which as things stood violated due process, were called upon in order to be transparent on the way that the software worked, they invoked the trade secrets card, which is an intellectual property right that in the US is protected under the auspices that it must be gauged in internationalized terms. It must be gauged in the internationalized field within which it is invoked. Now, let me paraphrase what the colleague from the opposing team said. He said that the trade secrets are a form of intellectual property rights. He then proceeded to point out that trade secrets are an issue, which is the problem that I've outlined thus far. I therefore kindly ask the opposing team, why would you advocate for a position that upholds intellectual property rights, which in themselves are sanctuary to trade secrets, which are the pivotal problem here? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, University of Chile, you have 2 minutes for rebuttals.
All right, I will be starting in 3, 2, 1. So we want to bring here an important case to show basically what we have been presenting before, and that is a case of 12th of May on 2023. That is Getty images versus Stable Diffusion. What happens here is that Getty alleged that Stability has scraped millions of images from various websites operating by Getty without its content, and unlawfully used those images to train and develop Stable Diffusion. And this is really important because the other team brings this issue that trade secrets are also part of intellectual property. But the thing we have to consider here is that all this law and the thing that is trying to protect has been done looking at the past. So we are looking at the things that have been already created, how company works, how human works, but this this artificial intelligence is a new thing. It's a thing that it's evolving, and thus maybe the regulations in the way that we should try to protect how it works and manage how it works may have to change too, and it's something that we need to accept, because at the end of the day, things have changed, and the way that laws work has also have to think in the future. And that is why we need to maybe sacrifice some things about artificial intelligence on itself, rather than sacrifice the whole content that we can be found in the internet. And we would rather strict this little thing about artificial intelligence that at the end losing in the future basically all ways of actually owning the things that you create. If we assimilate impacts, at the end of the day, we have to understand how one weighs so much more than the other, than maybe the things that the other team brings are valid points. But ultimately, we have to think in general. We have to think to the broader picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, University of Bologna, now you have 2 minutes for the rebuttals.
Now, one more time, thanks to the opposing team for their submission. A scheme intended to regulate AI would result in illegal uncertainty. And let me qualify this statement very clearly. Now, the moment in which an attempt is carried out to regulate as legally uncertain as an entity as AI, then the deriving intellectual property rights are abused because they derive in themselves from a flawed premise. And these, in turn, I'm referring to the intellectual property rights, are exploited to set roadblocks to further exploration of AI, thus circling back to the uncertainty on AI's identity. By means of one example, the Software Directive of 2009-24 of the European Community enshrines the right to scrutinize the functioning of a program encompassing AI for the purposes of determining the underlying elements of that very program. This implies, as is enshrined in Article 5, Paragraph 3, that, and I proceed on to talk about Article 8, Paragraph 2, that any attempt, any provision that goes against that very utterance must be deemed void. If we were to give a teleological read of this piece of provision, it would unequivocally reveal that any attempt, any scheme to violate the right to scrutinize the functioning of a program goes against the very purpose of Article 5, Paragraph 3, which is to ensure that right. Now, what I found quite problematic and dissonant at heart of what the opposing team has to say very respectfully is that they are insisting on the fact that we must internationally and strictly regulate AI without, however, providing us with the tools on how to do it. But let me provide you with the tools on how it is not possible. The European Union had made it clear that legal flexibility is a pivotal element, and with an internationalized and strict way, it cannot be fulfilled. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we move on to the conclusions. University of Chile, you have 2 minutes to conclude in favor of the statement.
Okay. Esteemed members of the jury, there is a significant economic, cultural, and legal challenge associated with the unrestrained development of artificial intelligence that must be urgently addressed. With these words begins the explanatory memorandum in the National Assembly on the French Congress on September 12th, in order to contextualize the debate for a reform on the French intellectual property code on the subject. As we came to the conclusion of this debate, I want to reiterate the powerful arguments presented by your team. By implementing stricter regulations, we can effectively identify and penalize developers who infringe upon intellectual property rights, thus threatening unauthorized use of protected content. In Europe, you have the amendments adopted by the European Parliament on March 13 this year, on the proposal for a regulation on the European Parliament and the Council on laying down harmonized rules on artificial intelligence. This in section 2, article 53 and following, we can find rules that protect intellectual property. But sadly, that is just for Europe. What happens if in a country without regulation in artificial intelligence, someone decides to create versions of Taylor Swift albums in 20 languages different and sell them? How are the artists' copyright protect them effectively? While copyrights can protect them in some way, okay, that's all.
Thank you. Now, University of Bologna, you have 2 minutes to conclude.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and colleagues, in conclusion of our today's debate, our position remains unwavering, and actually our colleagues from Chile, from the opposing team, actually proved it. There are a lot of obvious and undeniable complexities surrounding the establishment of exactly strict international regulations on AI when we are talking about intellectual property rights. All the practical challenges and ambiguities in regulating AI-generated content, combined with other potential pitfalls of over-regulating, underscore the need of a balanced approach. While intellectual property rights are undeniably crucial, of course, attempting to impose overly strict regulations on AI technology risks stifling innovations and hindering digitalizations that we are facing right now in the 21st century and common development in general. And it's not even the end. Furthermore, the crucial circular legal uncertainty inherent in regulating AI for the sake of intellectual property rights, it only highlights the challenges of internalizing regulations in this domain. Basically, any attempt to limit the control of AI programs contradicts such basic principles of transparency and accountability. As was mentioned in the second rebuttal of our colleagues from Chile, actually, sometimes we have to sacrifice something to reach a bigger goal. But why? Isn't it better to find a balance? Today, here and now, we advocate for a balanced approach that prioritizes innovation and transparency while safeguarding intellectual property rights. By fostering innovational cooperation and dialogue, we can navigate these challenges effectively and ensure that innovations flourish. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the end of the match. You are no longer being graded. You can relax. Congratulations on a very good match. We are going to move on to the hosting of the feedback section, and I would like to ask, how did you find the match? I was preparing for the match, studying both sides. Perhaps the team from University of Bologna could start.
Did you call me by any chance?
Yes, I asked if someone from University of Bologna could take the question.
Yeah, sure. Well, as far as I'm concerned, like the more the topic is advanced as AI, intellectual property rights, when it gets kind of meta, the more, the easier it is to have an opinion and the tougher it is to find material. So to try to combine the two things and come up with argumentations for both sides was, I think, the challenge, but it was overall interesting because it requires you to really dive in, and that was good in that sense.
What about the University of Chile? Perhaps Ms. Perez could take this question. How did you find the match?
Yes, I actually thought this topic was my favorite out of the three that we had in the group phase. And it was really interesting because I am an artist myself, so I was getting really angry sometimes when having to research about how artificial intelligence works, because I know for sure that it has an ethical problem. And so having to research for this topic and having to defend both positions to prepare for this debate was definitely a challenge in a like emotional way. But at the end of the day, it was still really interesting. And, you know, I guess these topics about technology and art and ethics are always interesting because there's so many points of view that you that you can take. And it's also a new discussion. So usually you have to think a little bit outside the box, maybe to have some new ideas, because there's not enough information, I think, to have already like arguments presented or ideas already very built. So you have to, you know, work a little bit more to think about what could happen in the future, how it affects different parts of society, because at the end of the day, you know, artificial intelligence is still a kind of a new thing. And there's so many things that maybe in 10 years we will not be debating, or that we will be debating, because we don't know for certain how it's gonna pan out at the end. But it was really interesting match, and also the arguments presented by our team were interesting. Some of us expected, some of those not so much. So we were surprised to hear basically what they brought to the debate. But yeah, that's all basically.
Thank you. What about you, Mr. Wu? What surprised you about the other team, about their arguments?
For me, first of all, the topic was very interesting. It's an ongoing topic, and we can see recently the EU is going to implement the new AI Act, and I think this topic is worth a lot of academic discussion. And the performance of the opposing team was also very amazing, and they mentioned a lot of interesting things which we all also thought about it, and something we didn't think about it. And thank you for your participation and your wonderful performance. It's really nice to see you, and it's a very good opportunity for me to communicate with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, about the topic of the debate, have you studied this topic before? Are you familiar with it, or was it the first encounter with it? What about you, Mr. Rubilar from the University of Chile?
Yeah, I really don't know too much about artificial intelligence. The same with intellectual property rights, and it was a real challenge to prepare this topic. but I learned a lot. That's for sure.
Thank you. What about you, Miss Vorobey?
Well, I would say that this topic is particularly interesting for me, not only because we take it into account while studying other some other fields of law, and basically nowadays we are more or less directly or indirectly talking about AI technologies and its influence on our daily life. Basically, in any subject, I guess my colleagues would agree with this and support this idea. It doesn't matter whether it's constitutional law or, for example, copyright law. We are constantly discussing the influence of AI technologies. And even if we come from academia to some professional or even daily life, actually, for the past, I would say year and a half, when the ChatGPT arose, I see that many companies all around the world are starting to use these technologies they are implementing these technologies to their daily operation to ease their operations. So we see the whole new era of digitalization, I would say, and it's obviously exciting.
Thank you. I would also like to say that the teams are coached by the University of Chile team is coached by Miss Silva, and the University of Bologna is coached by Mr. Alvarez Vega, Dr. Mauro Gatti, and Miss Emma Berto, who is also present here. How did you find the match?
It was really, really interesting, especially because last year when I was participating in this debate, we also had a topic about AI, artwork, and IP law. So it was really nice this year that we were taking it to the next level, and very nice to see what both teams were preparing. And yeah, I think they're really great. Both teams, nice arguments, nice rebuttals also. So I'm really happy with the outcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as a side note, apologies to the University of Chile. Ms. Silva is a participant and not a coach. But of course, it really was a pleasure to listen to your round 3 debate. And it is quite a tough one, even as the cyberspace, especially in regards to legal discussions and legal research, and even much more for the legal practitioners dealing with the encroaching topic on a daily basis. It's quite a challenge for everyone, and really well handled for the research and for the adjustments of your arguments. It shows that the format is quite a short one. So even though there can be quite a lot to say, it can be quite difficult. But with that being said, it is now round 3 for both teams. You have concluded it. Congratulations on that part. Usually we have, during the final part, a bit of questions on what would you say about your country or your university to the other team. Of course, if you have an information that you would like to share with your counterparts, this is also one of the moments you can do it. But I would have a different question for you this one time. And that would be, as it is round 3, as for the students, it's the first time participation in the competition. How would you say it went by? Because it feels like on the organizing side, just yesterday, it was preparation for opening ceremony. And suddenly here we are in March in round 3. So perhaps if I can give the floor to Ms. Vorobey from University of Bologna, how did you find the group phase? Is there anything in particular that stood out?
Well, for me personally, the most, I wouldn't say a thing, but the most something that stood out for me is obviously my teammates, because I would never explain how lucky I am to have Salah and Chanda by my side in these rounds, with their help, with their performance, with their support. I would even say it wouldn't be the same, and I am extremely lucky person to have these people by my side. And obviously, I would also mention Emma, and in general, all over the coaches, especially Emma and Felipe, for supporting us on this way. Because despite all the organizational, all the arrangements, all maybe some, I would say, worries before the, for example, friendly match or the first real match, they were always here by our side, and they always supported us with, I would say, literally everything. So yes, that for me would be the most that stood out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. It really gives us a bit of insight of how you might have handled the group phase. For us, we, of course, coordinate for 2 competitions at the same time, so it's one back and forth. And it's always exciting to hear how you are experiencing the tournament. Miss Perez, if I'm correct, right? Or is that Miss Silva on the camera?
Yes.
The floor is yours. How did you find the debate and the group phase? Is anything in particular that stood out?
The group phase, it was very difficult for us. This is our first time participating in this. And when this started, we were on our holidays. I was on the mountain on the Andes. So I have almost no signal, and we have to coordinate, to study, to call each other. It was very, very hard. And we have to learn a lot of new things, and it was very difficult for us, I think, but we are trying to do the best possible. Yeah.
Well, it must have been quite a challenge. I understand quite a few universities struggled with the starts of academic seasons, that perhaps for our competition, we are a bit more for the second semester of the European one. So I can just say thank you so much, and your team did really well in adjusting, and really good job for so far. If I can give the floor to Mr. Saleh from Bologna, how did you find the group phase? Perhaps were you also taking a look at some other teams from other groups? Is there a team perhaps that stood out?
Well, the teams that stood out, you mean from this group or the other groups?
This group perhaps, and maybe also from the other groups, if you were keeping track of other debates.
So now the first match we got the chance to dip the toes in the swimming pool and really try to understand how this debate works, although we had a friendly match before it. So what I knew about the first team is the impression that I got during the first match. The match that I was looking forward was honestly this one, because the closure of the group phase is pretty much where all the calculations are to be made, and where everything can be either confirmed or completely turned flip upside down. And so that was the more interesting part about it. And as far as the job that they did, the University of Chile, I found it remarkable just in terms of the drive and their consistency and persistence on trying to get their point across. So overall, it was an experience that had to be tracked from the first second all the way to the last one for it to be really breathed in. I really enjoyed it, to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. From University of Chile, perhaps Mr. Rubilar, how did you find the group phase? What about the teams that you have had a chance to observe?
Sorry, Ruler just had to fix a little bit problem, so maybe I can answer the question. I hope this is not
the floor is all yours.
Yes, okay. Well, regarding the question, I don't know, I think it's kind of the opinion of all of us that this match was definitely not the best in terms of who was speaking, but rather the best because we felt more comfortable. We did not get to participate in the first match because there was just some communication issue with the other teams. So we went on the second round, basically having no experience, and we were just trying to figure out how it felt, who should speak first or second, and just how to actually do it, because we never got the chance to practice before. But it was definitely a challenge the second round. But it also, really pushed us out there, and it was really fun. But then we came to this round a little bit more prepared, deciding to try new things, and it definitely felt more comfortable for us, or at least I felt really good with my own speech compared to what I thought I did last time, that I was not really comfortable with what I said. But I felt this, and my teammates feel basically the same. It was one of the first things that we said after we finished, like, wow, this felt a little bit better. So yeah, and we also could practice a little bit more English, because we are a Spanish speaking country, and sadly learning new languages isn't really a priority in any phase of education. Since kindergarten to university, really no one holds too much weight to learning a new language. And so maybe you have young people kind of learning it now through social media, but not really. And then you may have professionals out there who are expert in a lot of things, and could maybe inform other people a lot more, but there's this language barrier. So to be able to practice a little bit more made this match also much more fun to us. And also the teammates and the arguments they presented were really well explained, and we had the least amount of issues understanding what they wanted to say, because they were all very, very good at what they did too. So yeah, basically all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. If I can just say from the organizing side, there really is no, perhaps for the teams that are not arguing in their first language during the debates, it really is to your credit on the commitment and the preparation that you have done for the match. And this is also for the team from University of Bologna, and also many, many teams. Of course, for the teams that also have their first language in English, it's perhaps they deal with a different challenge with selecting which best way to summarize down the preparation for their arguments. So I can just say it is to your credit for the both teams, and especially for the first time participations, that you have prepared and adjusted. Well, final one on the feedback on the kind of impressions that you've received from the group phase and the preparation and your teamwork for University of Bologna. Mr. Wu, how did you find it?
Just as Lisa mentioned, teamwork was always the most amazing part in the tournament. And for the research, we can always, every time we receive a new topic, for example, today's topic, I've never learned about it, I've never studied about it, but when I research, I can always find something new and learn something from it, and find something which is really interesting, and to extend the boundary of my knowledge, of my study. It's very interesting. And also in the debate, we can always hearing something new from the opposing team, and they will always bring us something very interesting, something new, some new arguments that we have never thought about it. And I think it is the meaning of the debate tournament. We stay here, although we debate with each other, but the main aim is to communicate with each other, and this debate tournament is very wonderful, because it includes a huge amount of diversity. For example, I'm from Asia, but I'm participating on behalf of a European university to debate with someone from South America. It's a very amazing experience. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the opposing team and the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That's wonderful to hear. And if I can pass also the floor to University of Chile, if you have your third member with you.
Sorry, he's not here yet. I'm sorry.
No, that is okay. If he comes back before we stop the session, and then he can also, of course, chime in. And then just allow me one final question, going back to the tradition of the closing of the matches, a little twist on it. University of Bologna, if you had a team members or a team member from University of Chile tell you that they are going to visit Bologna in a few days, what would be the first thing that you would want to show them? Whoever wants to take the question.
Gelato.
Yeah, basically it will be a food tour of Bologna, wandering in the city, but making lots of stuff to eat foods, because Bologna is the food capital of Italy and I think even Europe.
Right. So a culinary experience. What about the students from Chile? If the students from University of Bologna messaged you that in a few days they would be visiting Santiago, what would be the first thing that you think of taking them to?
Well, the University of Chile is the oldest in Chile. It's located in city of Santiago, and it's very beautiful. And from the university, we can see the snow in the Andes in the winter. That is amazing. So I think I think that the snow in the Andes in winter. If you come in summer, we can go to the vineyards or the beach.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So I think if you have the chance to visit the city of the other team, you might have a wonderful experience. So I really do encourage you to stay in contact. Of course, you can find each other on LinkedIn. We tag everyone in the posts. If you want to stay in contact by email, do let us know. We'll share the email addresses with the teams if you're interested. And of course, we have a mid-edition networking session that will be taking place in April. So once we know the results of everyone's matches in group phase, we host a little session, a ceremony actually in April to announce which teams are making it to the next round. And as well, we host the networking for everyone. Of course, the final round or the final week of the competition is held in The Hague in person. It's also possible to participate hybridly or rather virtually. We also prepare visits to international organizations in the city, and we have a little partnership or support from KLM and EFANS. So if anyone wants to travel or has the opportunity to travel, do let us know. We are happy to support as much as we can with the contacts. And that would be all from my side and the organizing team side. I just want to congratulate you again. Well done for the group phase. And good evening to Italy and good day to Chile.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Love you.
Have a nice
Bye.
day. Goodbye.